Today we are talking about sunk cost fallacy. I've learned about that from TikTok, and I do agree that it is kind of strange place to learn some philosophical fallacies. Still, there are good quality creators on TikTok too, and I will mention this one here if I will not forget to do it. And overall, sunk cost fallacy, what is it, where does it come from, and how does it apply to our life, everyday life of me and you, probably you too. Let's begin. But before we begin, I have to tell you that this is Yury Experience, and here I share my various ideas and knowledge about different topics. I do 2 videos per week, Mondays and Thursdays. If you will enjoy this video, please drop a like. You can also subscribe to the channel. Let's go. To the big surprise of mine, sunk cost fallacy comes from economics field. And in the beginning, we shall obviously discuss our definitions. What is sunk cost? This is an official definition, but based on my understanding, sunk cost is some expense or some expenses in the past which don't have any influence on our expenses like nowadays or in the future. The examples will come later, but based on the definition, sunk costs don't have influence, at least direct influence, on your expenses right now or in the future, as I already mentioned, which means that they shall not influence your decision making. They shall not influence how you make your decisions about new expenses, about new investments, about new money that you will spend right now or in the near future. But since we are not perfect rational beings, our past expenses do influence sometimes our plans for expenses nowadays or in the future, which leads to sunk cost fallacy. So there are some sunk costs which you already made, which technically doesn't lead to making more cost now, but since you already did them, you think, since I did them, I need to do these too. Some small economical examples. Example number 1, you want to build a house. And you already invested $10,000 in the construction. You understand that in order to complete the building, you need to spend at least another $40,000. And then a friend of yours comes and says, you know what, I have the location over there, I have a couple of good people and I have resources, good quality resources, I could build a house of your dreams over there for $30,000. And it is yours. Rational in this case would be saying, yes, go for it, build it, because in that way you save $10,000. The $10,000 that you already invested, you cannot get them back. You can't. They already kind of wasted, they already spent. But how much you will spend starting from now depends on this current decision. Do you want to spend $40,000 or do you want to spend $30,000? And that is $10,000 difference. But since we kind of emotional people, a lot of people would say, I would rather spend $40,000 because I don't want to waste money, although it is already wasted basically. And I don't want to say that I was wrong, that it can be done better and whatnot. I would rather spend $10,000 more and build it my way. Again, it doesn't make sense. But these $10,000 lead in this case to you spending another $10,000 more than you could for the same target. These 10,000 actually have nothing, which you already paid. They have nothing to do with your choice in this case. But somehow they do. Another example comes from my childhood, and there we had some journals or magazines which you could buy, and there were some parts of different something, and you bought the whole line of these journals, and then you have different parts, and you could build a ship or maybe a car or whatnot. And there were people, they were not interested in journal anymore. They already lost some parts of that ship or car or whatnot, and they are not really interested in the car anyway. But they still bought every new journal because they already have some. They have no actual interest or reasoning behind expanding their collection of journals. But since I already bought some, since I have 10 already, I need to buy 100 more. No, I cannot throw away these 10. I need to complete it. I have to, right? Right? And that's where we go slowly into real life. Until now I was talking mainly about money, about economics, and about systems and theories. But real world is more complicated. Not always you can make decisions only because of money. Not always you make decisions because you have the full responsibility. Sometimes you need to ask other person, or maybe to have a proper conversational discussion with other people who also have responsibility over the process. Which is why we shall go away from idea expenses are money to the idea expenses are resources, which is technically, that's what economics are saying, but that's what not all of us are thinking about. Because time is a resource. Because enjoyment is kinda a resource too. Because mind capacity is a resource too. Being able to make decisions, or how many decisions you are able to do, how many of them are qualitatively good. Or maybe friendships. Friendship can be called a resource depending on the person and what kind of friendship, but amount of friendships, amount of connections, all of that can be thought of as about a resource. And way too freaking often we are wasting resources because we invested some already. So we are thinking, I cannot be wrong, I don't want to waste them, I carry the responsibility for that stuff, so I don't want to completely throw away everything that I invested. And we invest more, being it time, money, mind capacity and whatnot. Some small examples: you buy tickets to the cinema and you go to you sit down and you start watching the movie and it is boring. You understood, completely wasted money. But instead of going out of the theater, of the cinema, instead of going home and maybe playing computer games or reading a book, you're thinking, I will remain there. I will continue suffering through the whole movie because I already paid for it. But the point is, it doesn't matter whether you stay or you leave. Anyway, you already wasted your money. The money is already in the cinema, in the pocket of some cashier or whatever the person is called. The money is not in your pockets anymore. What you have right now is either 1 hour of watching something that you don't enjoy, or maybe 1 hour of doing something that you actually do enjoy. Another example, you started reading a book. And you're reading a book and 3 chapters in you understand, okay, this book actually is not that interesting. It is kinda stupid. And instead of deciding, okay, I will then just put this book on the shelf and it will stay there until I maybe will change my mind and will read it, you continue reading it. Because you started already. You cannot leave this job without ending. You already invested some time, some mind capacity, some emotions into it, which is why you cannot leave it without completion. You shall bring it to the full end, full stop, and then you will be satisfied. Although you could do something completely else during the same time and get way more satisfaction. But you already invested it, which is why you're thinking you shall do it. Although this investment will not change independent of the fact whether you will continue doing it or you will leave it at it. You already read these chapters. It doesn't matter, will you leave it or will you go? You already did it. And basically, technically, rationally, that shall not influence your decision making in terms of shall I continue reading it or not. But your enjoyment, that is a new factor. That is something that can change depending on your choice. Maybe it is a resource to put more concentration, focus onto. In conclusion, I will talk a little bit about my personal experience with sunk cost fallacy, and it's genius. The point is, I found out about it half a year ago approximately. And since then I saw it so often in my life that I was even thinking Yury, are you even a rational person? And I consider myself quite a rational person, but I'm not. I am completely dependent on sunk cost fallacy. Now, since I know about its existence, I try to at least take it into account, But due to my upbringing, how I was growing up, if I invested already something, I shall push through. Although it doesn't make no sense. But I feel quite uncomfortable. For example, this example that I provided to you with a book, I would feel myself quite uncomfortable leaving that book aside. And I would maybe think about that 2 weeks later and thinking I didn't read the book. But that leads to the fact that I don't start stuff until I know I will be able to end it. Although there's another phrase which says everything worth doing is worth doing poorly, and I will probably do an independent video about that. Which means any time investment which I will do in something that I will enjoy is a good time investment, or something that will provide some value for me. It is a good time investment. Which is why I'm thinking, what shall I do with my life? And I don't know. If you have some suggestions how to battle sunk cost fallacy, provide them in the comments. I will happily read them. But yeah, it's funny. It doesn't matter how much theory you know, praxis is different. That's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please drop a like. You can also subscribe to the channel. Except for that, I see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.